Hello, folks. Good afternoon, at least for me. Today we'll be talking about a couple of news that I have found to be interesting. Let me just check this thing out because I have been taking care of a couple of things here. Give me a minute and I will start. Alright, let's just drop a little message here in the chat. Welcome. Please use the chat to talk. Again, folks, I will ask you to please remain polite and let's start. Today I want to watch a couple of news with you. So first, let me just do something here. So we are going to start with what has been happening around here in Europe from our perspective. So let's watch the video.
Orban-style vetoes undermine the democratic principles of the European Union, Foreign Chief Kaja Kallas tells Euronews.
The European Union's failure to sanction Israel over its military action in Gaza and Lebanon weakens the collective credibility to defend Ukraine, said Spanish Prime Minister.
EU governments are warning that Brussels' attempt to simplify housing regulation through its so-called omnibuses could be backfiring.
This week saw the lifting of two Hungarian vetoes, one on the €90 billion loan to Ukraine and another on the 20th package of sanctions against Russia. In an interview with Euronews on the sidelines of an informal EU summit in Cyprus, EU Foreign Chief Kaja Kallas reflected on the nature of the veto, frequently used by outgoing Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban to the frustration of many European leaders.
We have seen recently that actually, when 26 countries want something and one doesn't, then we do what this one wants to do, not what 26 want to do. So it's not really democracy. And we definitely have to also look into our working methods to be more effective, because in this geopolitical world, we need to be credible, and by that we need to be united and able to make decisions.
New leadership in Hungary could also mean progress in Ukraine's EU accession negotiations.
It's very often projected that what all these countries get when they get to the European Union. But actually, we need to talk about what do we also benefit from these countries joining. A bigger Europe, a stronger Europe in terms of defense, in terms of also bigger single market that benefits our companies, that makes us more credible geopolitical power in the world. So it is always a geopolitical choice, and we need to work with our public opinion.
But is there a risk that the European Union will not fulfill the big promise that it has made to Ukraine?
I hope it's not the case. We are working for this fulfillment because it is, like I said, we also need Ukraine in Europe to be stronger when it comes to defense, for example. They are the strongest defense force that there is in Europe right now. I mean, and Europe would be stronger also if Ukraine would be with us.
The European Union's failure to sanction Israel over its military action in Gaza and Lebanon weakens the collective credibility and legitimacy to defend Ukraine against Russia's full-scale invasion, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has said on Friday.
Ayer yo defendí esa posición, porque algo que nos está deslegitimando, no solamente de cara al exterior, sino también de cara al interior, a nuestras sociedades, es este doble estándar, esta doble vara de medir que Europa está utilizando en Ucrania y en Oriente Medio.
His warning comes a few days after Spain's renewed push to terminate the EU-Israel Association Agreement in response to the deadly strikes against Lebanon was met with broad opposition from other EU member states. Germany and Italy, which are key to achieving the necessary qualified majority vote in favor of a partial suspension, remain on the fence. Sanchez made the case to his fellow EU leaders during an informal summit in Cyprus, pointing to an internal review by Brussels that found Israel in breach of Article 2 of the Association Agreement, which imposes binding obligations to respect human rights. Israel has long contested the Spanish criticism, arguing its military offenses in Gaza and Lebanon were designed to eliminate the threats posed by Hamas and Hezbollah, respectively, both of which are backed by Iran.
Right, let's pause for a bit so that we can speak about the two first news. Now, it's as simple as this. The first one about Hungary and Ukraine. It is very important to now have a normal person in Hungary. For all of you that don't know, Peter Magyar, he is not a leftist or a liberal by any account. Okay, he's a right-wing conservative, basically. But he is, however, at least from what I have been given to see, a serious man, a man that wants to clean up his country, that wants to have things working for him and for his people. That is his function as a prime minister, let's not forget this. That is his function. And he wants Hungary to integrate with the rest of the European countries in making decisions. Because you see, we don't all have to agree upon absolutely everything, okay? You don't. We do, however, have a duty to talk amongst each other and to reach a consensus. Because you know, and again, I will go back to this old premise that I have been speaking about, you know, many times, and that is, Americans don't understand democracy. For them, democracy is unity. You all should do the same thing, think the same thing, and then claim to be very multipolar. In Europe, no. This is why we like PR, professional. Pardon. Sorry, just had my lunch, a beautiful lasagna. I had to compensate because I went walking in the morning. But proportional representation is the main type of democracy that exists in Europe, and it usually does not proportionate itself of creating a situation of two-party system. Sometimes you might have a party on the right that is more strong and that usually has enough votes to be a government, or you can have a party in the left and it might reach it might reach power. You also have the middle ground, the conservatives, the social democrats, and all of that are more moderated parties. And you also have the demagogues and all of that, because this is a democracy. The difference here is we all have constitutional safeguards to avoid certain types of situations, like the one that the United States is now having. Sorry. It is there is a very strong and clear division of powers of what one predetermined one determined part of the government of the state can do. And what Mr. Orban was doing in Hungary, he was concentrating all the powers in his hands. Media control, judicial control, economic control, political control, all of it. And this was designed to create a situation in which he could do basically whatever he wanted to, even bypassing democracy itself. And the Hungarians, with this vote, they told him to no, thank you very much. We don't want that. We want a person that will work for our interests. And immediately he is starting to take the right measures. I'm sure there will be clashes. I'm sure there will be issues and discussions about any different policies that he might take with the EU, with people inside of his own country. All of that is absolutely normal. And to tell you the truth, I like it that way because this means that the political system is working. Now, very important for Ukraine because this has unfrozen the money that Ukraine needs to acquire more material to continue their war effort against the invasion of the Russians. Because this is what is happening right now. Okay, this is the Russians have invaded Ukraine. They have violently used the Minsk agreements as an excuse to invade Ukraine. And I will understand a lot of people that will tell me, "Oh, but one of the things that was signed in the Minsk agreements, it was that NATO would not expand to the east and this and that." Okay, I will understand all of that. I will also understand. Excuse me. Uh, that the Russians also said that they would not try to attack Ukraine, just like they would not try to attack other countries in the region. And ever since Mr. Putin got into power and he saw that he could not do whatever he wanted to do, he has started to threaten everyone from Finland to Ukraine. So let's not go that way because number one, the Minsk agreements were made with the USSR, still in the shadows. And number two, the Russia has never respected those agreements, so they cannot ask others to agree with them. And if we look at this from a continental perspective, then the agreement is no. Russia should give back the nukes to Ukraine and fuck off across the border if we are going to be absolutely real about it. Yes, I swear, and I will swear. Now, as for the second news about Israel, you know, I completely agree with Pedro Sanchez. Okay, I think we need to cancel all agreements with Israel. Israel is not a reliable partner. I'm not talking about Israeli people, but Israel is not a reliable partner. Israel has been committing genocide in Gaza. It has been trying to commit more genocide in Lebanon. It has invaded a sovereign country. It is a participant in this entire comedy with Iran plus the United States, and it doesn't deserve to be an economic partner of the EU. In fact, I don't want them here. I don't want them in Eurovision. I don't want them in our football leagues. Yes, football, soccer is something for the Americans, not for me. It's football or football, if you want to be more precise about it, to me. And I don't think they have really anything to do here. And I have explained this often. If you want to understand my position towards Israel, please go and watch another one of my videos. They're all available in my channel. I don't lie. I speak my opinion, and I don't like lies. Okay, so I'm not anti-Semite. I would never hurt someone just because they are Jewish, just to sum it all up in the stream. But I do recognize what Israel is doing is not correct, and hence I cannot support it. And me personally, I am simply boycotting them. I don't buy absolutely anything that I know that is completely or partially originated in their country. Nothing. To me, it's like this. And I am doing the same thing with the Americans. Anything I can boycott, I'm boycotting it. Now, let's continue with the videos, okay?
Two people were killed and more than a dozen injured in a Russian strike overnight on the Black Sea port city of Odessa, Ukraine regional authorities said on Friday. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine reported residential buildings and civilian infrastructure were hit, sparking major fires. Authorities also reported a Russian drone also struck a merchant ship sailing under the flag of St. Kitts and Nevis that was heading to the port of Odessa. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the US-based Resume for Ukraine organization, in partnership with the American Coalition for Ukraine, on Wednesday installed a display of 20,000 teddy bears at the National Mall in Washington. The stuffed bears are meant to represent the estimated 20,000 Ukrainian children that have been abducted by Russian forces since the war in Ukraine began in 2022.
Next to me here on this wall, you see teddy bears. They're a symbol of childhood and innocence, a very thing that makes a child feel safe when they're scared. But each of these teddy bears represents a child who has not only had their innocence stolen from them, but their identity.
According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, some 2,100 abducted children have been returned to their loved ones by the Bring Kids Back UA initiative since 2023.
Russian soldiers who took part in the full-scale invasion of Ukraine should be banned for life from the Schengen area, Estonia's Prime Minister Kristen Michal has told Euronews. The Estonian government argues that the Kremlin's expanded mobilization increases the likelihood that former combatants could threaten the EU even once hostilities are over.
What will those people do? Most of them are criminals, but they have to be treated as heroes inside Russia. So, once again, I would ask everybody that, do you want these guys near to your home? No, you don't. So that's why you have to ban them for life from Schengen.
Estonia has already banned about 1,300 Russian fighters, Michal said. But given the sheer amount of Russian soldiers, the Prime Minister seeks to turn the proposal into an EU-wide policy. Estonia is promoting the Schengen ban since earlier this year and has gained support from other EU countries. The European Council even included the project in its conclusions at the March summit.
Now, let's just stop here a minute so that I explain what I just posted in the chat. To me, all Russians should be banned from entering Europe for life. As simple as this. Because we cannot trust them. Any of them, even a woman or children, a child or whatever, they can be used against us. They can be used as spies. They can be used as leverage on Europe. So to me, the best way of dealing with them is to simply cut them off, not allowing them to enter in Europe at all, and let them stay in their golden isolation in Russia. Because you see, Russia has to learn a hard lesson, and that hard lesson is you either behave as a civilized country or we don't want you here. And all of these actions that Russia has been taking, abducting children, raping, pillaging, burning, assassinating, because to me these are not people killed in bombings. These are people assassinated in bombings. This is a very important difference to make. People are being assassinated in Ukraine by the Russians. And we cannot forget this. This is absolutely important that people do not forget this. Okay? Now, let's go back to the videos again. As I said, the links for these videos will be in the description. I have subscribed to Euronews. I encourage you to do the same. And again, this live stream is not monetized at all. Okay? Not with PayPal Pay Me or any of that shit, or Patreon or whatever. Nothing. Okay? Let's continue.
EU governments are warning that Brussels' attempt to simplify housing regulation through its so-called omnibuses could be backfiring. Concerns grow that new rules may actually slow down urgently needed projects, a letter led by Ireland and backed by 6 other EU countries reveals. The Irish government has asked Economic Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis to rethink plans to accelerate permitting procedures. It stressed that faster approvals are vital to deliver housing and critical infrastructure. Alongside Ireland, Austria, Greece, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, and Slovenia argued that the issue is not over-regulation but poor alignment of EU laws. The request comes as Ireland faces a deepening housing crisis marked by soaring rents, widespread homelessness, and chronic supply shortages. The issue extends beyond Ireland. House prices in the EU rose by 53% between 2010 and 2024, and rents by 25%.
All right. About this housing matter, it this is quite an issue here too, and it's something that we need to take care of. You know, I personally know of this of these situations because my young nephew, he has been struggling to get a house here in Portugal, and it's really hard because the prices of the houses, they are very high. Also, the availability of housing, it's very complicated. There are several industrial and manufacturing projects being developed in the area of the country where I live. So there is a large portion of housing that has been channeled, so to speak, into housing those fluctuating populations. And this is something the EU is going to have to address, okay? We are not as bad as in Ireland, for example, but I do know people that live in Ireland. I know a Portuguese citizen that is married with an Irish woman. They live in the Republic of Ireland, and it's absolutely grotesque, the price of housing. So we need to have another way of taking care of housing, especially in countries with high numbers of tourism, like Portugal, where a house, for example, in the southern areas, like for example in the Algarve, housing prices are at the millionaire level because it's this is huge. This is a huge problem. The housing problems, like, I'm sorry, K8 Nimbus team is saying, yes, that is one of the issues. I'm sorry if I don't read the chat so much. It's not meant as disrespectful. I'm just focusing on what I'm talking about. But yes, the pricing of the houses has been pushed up by the companies and by the privates that buy out housing and then rent it to the highest bidder, which in this case is the companies that supply manpower to these companies that are creating all of those projects of industrialization and manufacture. Just to give you a bit of a hint of what is happening, the harbor in my area has just hired around 2,000 people more on top of the 2,000 that were already working there. There are 3 or 4 battery factories being built, a lot of things going on, and you have over that, you have tourism, and you have all of that that is absolutely inflation in making the prices rise. Okay, let's continue.
The next Hungarian government can decide whether the European Union's prosecution service will be able to investigate potential violations by the outgoing government of Viktor Orban. Newly joined member states can choose to allow the body to have jurisdiction in their country from the moment they join or from the time of the establishment of the EPPO 5 years ago.
Poland said that when they sent a request to the European Commission, they said that they want to join EPPO and their competence would start from the moment when we became operational for 2021. So it's a kind of retroactive competence and they could do it. It was linked. Sweden, when they join EPPO, they said that the competence will start for the moment that they will join. So all the crimes that were committed after the moment that they join. So we have two different situations in EPPO. Let's see how Hungary will choose to deal with this.
Viktor Orban, a fierce critic of the EU, has previously opposed Hungary from joining the EPPO. But Peter Magyar, who beat him comprehensively in the Hungarian elections earlier this month, has regularly stated he would push for accession.
From the EPPO side, I can tell you that we are ready. Whatever need, whatever help our colleagues in Hungary will need, we can deliver.
24 member states are currently part of the EPPO with the exception of Ireland and Denmark. The office is an independent body that is responsible for investigating and prosecuting crimes against the financial interests of the EU.
As global energy routes shift and geopolitical tensions reshape supply chains, the Caspian region is becoming increasingly strategic. The Caspian and Central Asia Oil Trading and Logistics Forum is the latest platform to discuss the challenges that lie ahead.
As you know, Azerbaijan is a really gate for the movement between East and West, and investment into this part of the world is a crucial and important, and particularly in the highlighting with the geopolitical situations.
The Middle Corridor links Central Asia to Europe through the Caspian Sea, South Caucasus and Turkey. As traditional supply chains face disruption, governments and companies are looking to diversify transport routes and reduce geopolitical risk.
80% of oil goes via CPC pipeline, Caspian Pipeline Consortium. That's why Middle Corridor, as I said, is very important, and definitely Kazakhstan is seeking alternative roads and investors who can support this road.
Azerbaijan sits at the center of that corridor, connecting oil and refined products from Central Asia and the Caspian Basin to global markets through pipelines, ports and rail networks.
Work with the governments, these area governments, it would help all round, and it would be a hedge against these volatile, significant costs that go up for the individual companies. It would be much better for them.
But expanding capacity remains a major challenge, from port infrastructure to rail connections and shipping across the Caspian Sea, both westwards and east.
I think that the Central Asian countries need to look at Pakistan specifically and South Asia in general in terms of investing in infrastructure to bring their gas down south.
As governments and companies search for more resilient supply chains, the race to develop new corridors across Eurasia is accelerating, placing the Caspian region firmly on the global energy map. Nadira Tudor, Euronews, Baku.
All right. Let's start with this last one. And I'm going now to tell you a bit about what is behind all of this. If you don't know this, last year, the EU and the Central Asian countries made an economic agreement that was also a part of a larger agreement with China. And this is to create rail transport between China and Europe and vice versa, to bypass sea routes. Now, this was created in such a way that route will bypass Russia completely. Traditional routes from Europe to China would pass through Russia in one way or in another. But right now, what they are trying to do, and they're not trying to do, I have to be more concise. They are doing it as we speak, as you and I here speak. All of the building, all of the infrastructures is being built, and in some parts they are already very advanced. And this will create, when this rail tracks are done, They are going to enter in Europe via Turkey. When this is over, it will take an estimate 40 days to haul cargo via rail between China and Europe and China, of course. Okay, if you know the average time for shipping containers to be transported, and given all of the shit that we have been getting in the last years, okay, with the Suez Channel and now the the Straits of Hormuz, with the shit that Iran is doing, okay, this will significantly protect cargo much more. Because if you go through countries that have accepted to be a part of this transportation, because it will also benefit them, of course, you will have a situation where you will have Europe completely, Europe and China, which is very important, completely, how can I say this? They will be completely isolated from a number of problems that have been happening lately in terms of transporting goods and energy. Also, this energy connection, it's very important to create a gyrating platform between Europe, China, and the Middle East, and to a larger extent to Pakistan, to India, and to the Gulf states. I will keep an eye on these news more, okay, because this is still a bit developing. I only saw mentioning of these connections in a couple of videos from the European Parliament, in a couple of debates that they were having. But what I do know is that the infrastructure building for this rail line is already very advanced. Because you see, they are taking advantage of existing infrastructures, some of them that date back to the Soviet Union, rail infrastructures, and they are creating this Silk Road. It's the project of the new Silk Road by China. Okay, basically it's what it is. But now they are having the cooperation of Europe and of the Central Asian countries that are looking north and seeing a Russia that is more and more unstable and authoritarian, and they are looking at America, and America is transforming into what we can see. Okay, now let's watch a couple of more videos and we'll comment on them.
US President Donald Trump has said he had cancelled his envoy's planned trip to Pakistan for peace talks with Iran on Saturday. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner were meant to head to Pakistan for in-person conversation with Iran, according to the White House. Though Iran had insisted direct talks were not on the table. But Trump added that this did not mean an immediate resumption of the US-Israeli war against the Islamic Republic. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi arrived in Pakistan on Friday evening but left the country on Saturday afternoon prior to Trump's announcement. Araghchi met with Pakistani military chief Asim Munir, a key figure in the mediation efforts, as well as Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar. A first round of negotiations between Iran and the US took place in Pakistan earlier this month, but both sides failed to reach a deal. A drone crashed into a populated area in Romania near its border with Ukraine early on Saturday. The incident occurred during a large-scale aerial attack by Russian drones and missiles on Ukraine. The drone landed on the southern-eastern city of Galati and resulted in 200 people being evacuated as two British fighter jets stationed in a nearby military base immediately scrambled. It is not the first time that the EU and NATO member state has seen its airspace violated and drone fragments fall on its territory since Russia's 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Romanian President Nicosiu Dan said that this was the first time that Romanian property has been damaged, though no casualties were reported. The country's foreign minister has summoned the Russian ambassador over the incident.
All right, let's stop here and talk about these uh, these videos, this part, and then we will continue. Now, it's the same story. It's the U.S. It's the talking about peace talks, and in the in the background, they are sending more soldiers. They are sending more ammunitions. They are refilling their bases with more missiles to launch into Iran and kill people. They are feeding the Israeli war machine, and we have to be very clear about this. Okay, the United States is not controlling bloody anything in the Straits. Okay, the United States is controlling jack shit, and Jack has left town, to be very honest. They are not controlling anything, okay? This war is one of the stupidest things that idiot Donald Trump has done in the latest month, because the man has not done a single good thing since he went into power. And how could he? Okay, we saw what he did in the first term, and the Americans voted for them. And I have made extensive videos talking about this subject, but I will, for the sake of this Newswatch, for anyone that has not watched my videos before, I would ask you first of all, go and watch them. Okay, I'm not monetized, so you are not going to be giving me absolutely anything if you do not like my positions or what I tell you. What I can tell you is that I never lie, I tell the truth, I hate lies, and I give you my honest, wholehearted opinion. Now, I also do not like the dictatorship in Iran. I think they are stupid, like all zealot people are stupid, okay? I'm not talking about religious people, okay? I have no issues with religious people. You can be as religious as you want, as long as you don't mix religion with governance, okay? Governance should be very well away from any kind of religion or stupidity, because what we need to do, stupidity in the sense of stupid religious zealot people, and you have Talibans in the United States and you have Talibans in Iran, okay? It's the same shit. So let's not fool ourselves about it. Let's not fool ourselves about what Iran has been doing to their people. But like I said, like I told, I spoke about this in another video that I made, it's not my business. Iran has their business. As long as they don't attack their neighbors, I don't care about it. Why? I mean, and people would ask me, well, you don't care that people are being killed and this and that. That is not the point. Of course I care. I'm a human being. I'm not an animal. But the key issue here is that I should not meddle into their business. They are the ones that have to solve their business and live as they want to live. If they are being oppressed, then it's up to them to change this situation. It's not up to the United States. It's not up to Israel. It's not up to Europe. It's not up to anyone to tell them how they should live their lives. And it's certainly not our business when they are bombing schools with children and assassinating them. And you will see I don't say kill, because this was no accident. When you are purposely bombing an urban area where you have schools, where you have children, where you have pets, where you have people living, you are not doing war. You are doing assassination. And this has to be very clear in the minds of anyone that is listening to my stream, because you have to understand this is my position. I am always on the side of the civilians, whoever they are. I don't care what shade of melanin they are. I don't care what religion they are. I don't care. I don't even care if they don't like people like me. I'm always on the side of the civilians. Because the civilians have nothing to do with this shit. And I'm also talking about the people in Israel that are normal people, just trying to live their lives, even if they are weaklings that are unable to remove that stain of Benjamin Netanyahu from their government, that are still pandering to the zealots inside of their countries. Even so, I do not gloat on their death and on their suffering. And this all started in 1946. It could have ended when we reached the two-state solution, and Israel did not want to do that. And now they are going to look. They are going to harvest the fruits of their labor when all of this is over. Okay, but going back to this point, this is all gaslighting. Planes filled with ammunition, with fuel, and more men are still pouring into the region. Excuse me for a minute, please. American ships are still there. The carriers, the carrier is still there. Everything is still there. Okay, and Iran said to the United States, they told them clearly that they will not go into any negotiations with the United States until the United States agrees at least to negotiate the points that they have made. One of those points is to stop the aggression to Iran and in Lebanon against Hezbollah. In exchange from that, Hezbollah and Iran will stop their aggression too. And remember, you also now have the Houthis in the Suez Channel playing the same song. So you can have a situation where you will have both the Straits of Hormuz and you will have the Suez Channel both blocked. This gives even more importance to the earliest news that I was talking about in regards to the new Silk Road between Europe and China via rail, and the negotiations and the agreements already signed with the Central Asian countries and now the Caspian nations. Okay? But what I want to tell you is this: you cannot have negotiations. It's just like this shit with Ukraine. Okay? How can you have negotiations when you are in the middle of a bloody war? Okay? And look, my friends, I have told you, I will repeat myself. I just said this. I don't like the Iranian government, but the issue here is, in this regards, they are right. Okay, stop the bombing, stop this shit, and have a ceasefire. And you want to know what? The saddest part about all of this is that the United States cannot afford this war. And let's not also beat around the bush and say this: the United States has the capability, with heavy casualties of course, to level Iran. Okay, let's not fool ourselves, okay? Because this is the truth. They have enough means to do it. Of course, if they try the ground invasion, they will suffer high casualties, okay? And I don't think the American people are ready for that. Already, I think it's around 13 servicemen and women that have been killed in this war, and already they are flinching. And the situation with Mr. Trump inside of his own country is not very good, but I will make a stream or a video talking about this. But you have to understand is this: none of these actors are good people. Iran is not good people, okay? Neither is Israel, neither is the US. But the first thing we have to say is this is an illegal war. If we are going to talk about law, and I know about it, okay, I have worked in that business for a long time, and I know I had 3 years of international law. In this case, for example, the United States would have to ask for permission or authorization or even warn their partners in the different alliances that they have, and even evoke a countermeasure by the International Court to do this. And they did jack shit. They said they were negotiating with Iran, and then they start to bomb the shit out of them. And Israel did absolutely the same. And a lot of people will say, oh, this is an Israeli war with the United States, and I will tell you this. No, this is an American-Israel fight. They are both in it. Don't make apologies to the Americans blaming Israel. Both are the byproduct of the same shit. They started in 1946 when no one wanted to take in the Jews. They put the Jews in Israel and they let them sort it out. And the let them sort it out created the situation that we have here. So you cannot just blame a party and forget of the past. This is very important and people should be very careful when they say this. Also, I will repeat this again, I am not a bloody anti-Semite. I don't give a fuck if you are a Jew. And yes, I swear. Again. Okay, you have these people, you have Trump, you have Netanyahu, and they decide to do this. For different reasons. Netanyahu wanted carte blanche to do what he's doing right now to Lebanon. Okay, and to Iran. And Trump, he wanted a distraction and something to polish his ego because he thought this would be very easy, just like he did in Venezuela. And he wanted a distraction, okay, because he's a pedophile. This is the truth. The American president is allegedly a pedophile. Okay? He abuses women. He abuses everyone around him. He profits out of this. Him and his kids have profited millions, I won't risk say billions, with all of this. And in the end, when all of this shit is over, you know what is going to happen? If the Americans are able to kick him and his cronies out of power, they will retire with all of their little money in their pockets and F off into the sunset. Okay? It's as simple as this. And people have to look, I don't expect anyone to be prosecuted in the United States. I keep listening to these democratic streams and sites. I even support a couple of them. And the only person that I see that has enough common sense to understand what will come out of this, is Josh from The Enemy Within. Okay, Josh, the truck driver guy, that I connect a lot with that guy because he's a working man like me. Okay, that is the only person that sees this, that sees we only have to get rid of this guy and start again. Because you also see the same type of I always say this, and I didn't want to talk about this because I knew I would rant away, but I will talk about this briefly. I will try to keep it short, sorry. Remember, English is not my first language. Okay, as you can see, Trump is just a symptom of a disease. Okay, our issue should not be specifically to Trump. It's the 70 million people that voted for him. 76, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm mistaken, please correct me in the chat. Because when he is gone, those people will still be there. And a lot of them, the majority of them, would say, "Oh, I didn't know this would happen. Oh, me." And in a couple of years, they would have, "Oh no, I didn't vote for him." When you reach in a couple of years, no one will have voted for Mr. Trump, and he would have magically appeared as the president of the United States for a second term after the shit he did in the first term with COVID and with the invasion of the Congress and all of that shit. No one will, because Americans are like this. And here lies the difference between Americans and Europeans. We don't forget this shit. Around here in my country, for example, people don't forget these things. People don't forget what politicians did in the past. People don't forget what parties did in the past. Some people were very shocked when the left was so heavily battered here in Portugal. And you want to know why? Because they have been doing nothing but shit. They started off well, the governments from the socialists, the PS. They started off very well. António Costa, which is now the president, yes, Kate, the Heritage Foundation is also an important equation in this, part of this equation. But I will not talk about this in this stream, but I will do one stream talking specifically about these forces that are behind all of this, okay? Thank you. Now, here, António Costa is a very competent man. He's a very methodic man. He's a guy that when he does something, he does it well. But in his second term, he surrounded himself by people that were not like him. And one of his closest aides, okay, he was allegedly, this is still being discussed in the court of law, so I have to say allegedly, he allegedly did things, corruption, using the name of the Prime Minister. And António Costa, he is a very lawful man. He did what any politician here should do, and he did it. He resigned. And the government went down. And then we went into elections, and people elected a social democrat prime minister. And then the socialists of that group of the alleged corrupt guy, okay, they tried to do the same thing to the social democrat prime minister. And the social prime minister, democrat prime minister, he had no shame. He dropped the government, sent us into elections again. And then, in these new elections, you want to know what happened? The socialists became the third force in the parliament, behind the Social Democrats and behind Chega, which a lot of people call them right-wing. I don't know why, because they are demagogues of the right wing. They are populists. Because in our constitution, we do not allow authoritarian or fascist governments. If any government, any party tries to proclaim that, they will be automatically inelectable. They cannot even present themselves to elections. They are, however, populists, and to tell you the truth, sometimes they speak the truth, and sometimes they are just curving balls, okay? Talking shit. But all this true. You see, I rented away into Portugal. Got. But all this, to go back to this situation, is this. This standstill in Iran, it will have to stop. Because it is affecting everyone in the world. I am absolutely sure that the EU has told the United States something in the lines of like this, just like Japan has told them also. If you don't stop this shit, we are going to drop your bonds in the market and sink your bloody economy. And you also have the generals telling and getting fired, as we have been seeing, telling Trump, we cannot do this without high casualties. We can do this, but it will be a bloodbath, and we may not even be able to fully control certain areas of the government. And you have Trump that keeps on insisting on this, and more than Trump, I would say Miller and all the ones behind them, and as Kate was saying here in the chat, the Heritage Foundation. Because all of them, they want this. Okay? Sorry. It was just my phone, a message. Okay. Turned off. And what we have to understand is this will end. Okay? I hear people say World War III and all of that. No, it's not going to be World War III. Not unless I don't know, unless Trump gets access to the nuclear codes, and in some kind of a delusion, he will believe he's playing Mario Kart or some shit like that. He will press the button and pop goes the world. But we should not focus on this, because these peace talks, they are not going absolutely anywhere. You know? Now, let's continue to watch the videos. You have heard enough of my rants, and then we'll talk about it, okay? Bear with me, folks. Sorry.
During President Volodymyr Zelensky's first visit to the South Caucasus since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Zelensky said he would be willing to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin for trilateral talks in Azerbaijan. Speaking next to Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev, Zelensky added that Baku could mediate the diplomatic process.
Ми поділилися з президентом Азербайджану, що ми готові до трьохсторонніх перемовин. Ми мали такі перемовини в Туреччині, ми мали такі перемовини з нашими американськими партнерами в Швейцарії. Безумовно, ми готові до найближчих перемовин в Азербайджані, якщо Росія буде готова до дипломатії.
The Kremlin has so far rejected the idea of the leaders meeting anywhere except Moscow, while Kyiv has said Zelensky is ready to meet Putin in any country except Russia or Belarus. Zelensky also confirmed for the first time that Ukrainian military experts have been deployed to Azerbaijan to share anti-drone expertise. In the meantime, Russia launched an overnight attack with over 600 drones and almost 50 missiles, which left 7 dead and dozens injured.
Now, let's go back into this. Sometimes people ask me, oh, why does Ukraine continue these so-called negotiations with Russia and with the Americans and all of this? And you have to understand the position of the Ukrainians. Ukraine simply has to continue to, let's call it, to show that they are willing to meet with Mr. Putin, because, or else, the entire propaganda machine behind all of this shit will say, Ukraine does not want to meet with Russia. They have refused to present themselves to negotiations, and this and that. Because you have to understand what is against Ukraine. Look, if you look into the media, for example, in most of Europe, you will find that they are usually very, they also ask the same questions. Why are they still meeting? But they try to report things in a normal way. But if, for example, Zelensky, when he was right now here in Azerbaijan, he would say that we refuse to meet with Russia, immediately you would see a feedback all across the Russian dominated world telling you this: Ukraine does not want peace. And this is a very simple way for you to see if the media that you are watching might be under the influence of Russia one way or another. When you see the Kremlin narrative being spilled out verbatim, you know those people are controlled by them. It's as simple as it's as simple as this. You go to Fox News, which is the state media company of Trump right now, and you will see this shit. They use every word in every event, and the only way Americans can get access to actual news is they can either tune in to Canadian news or to European news, okay? Because if they try to get their news in the United States, with the exception of some things like, for example, Midas touch and other things that even so are a bit iffy or inaccurate. I would not say iffy, I would say inaccurate. Even if they are a bit inaccurate, they will provide them with a clear vision. But you know, Americans are in a bind, okay? Just like in the United Kingdom, where it's not that bad, they are trapped in the system where you have opinion groups and money dominating media. Whilst in Europe, in most of Europe, you will find that the news are, I would not say subjugated, it's dominated by the law, meaning there are strict laws. Look, when I go into to watch the news here, I will watch the same event as it happened in different news agencies. The journalist might give me a different opinion about what is the cause for that event or the consequences of that event. Okay? That is called the freedom of a journalist to do that. But as when it comes to report the facts, they have to be absolutely inaccurate. Or else, it's not journalism. And it's misinformation and fake news, which is heavily punished here in Europe. Okay? In Portugal, there is prison time for it, and cancelling of licenses to broadcast, cancelling of the license to be a journalist, and even the associations of the media companies and the associations of the journalists themselves, they self-sanction themselves when they think that something is not right. And this has happened in the past, and it will happen. But at least my country is in the 5th place when it comes to journalist freedom, while the United States is in the 15 or 16 number. Okay. Well, and as person impersonator has said here in the chat, yes, I also speak with Ukrainians. I have also spoken with them. I know Ukrainian people. There are Ukrainian people living nearby. My nephew's best friend is half Ukrainian. His mother is Ukrainian. She had to bring her sisters and children and their children to live with her here in Portugal, because the village, let me tell you, I will tell you this story because I know people have told you so many stories about this, but let me tell you this story. The town where they lived, a medium-sized little town, it was, oh, hello, wake up and smell the rosemaries. I hope you're aware. The town where these girls lived, girls because they're younger than me, okay, but they are women. The town where they lived, they evacuated. Their sister, the woman that I was talking about, the mother of that friend of my nephew, she told them to come here to Portugal. Don't stay there. You can come and live with me and my husband, which is Portuguese. And they came. And then they told me the story. A few days after they left, the Russians entered in the town. They went into the high school and they raped. This is not a nice story, but I will tell you that story because it was told to me by the victims themselves. Okay, they went into that town and they raped every woman and girl that they found. Then they proceeded to pillage the high school. Then they proceeded to pillage the town. Then they proceeded to kill a couple of people inside of the town just for fun. They would sit themselves near after that, they would sit themselves, while they were occupying the region, they would sit themselves in a crossroad where people had to pass to go either to go to the gas station or to the supermarket, and they would shoot at the civilians, and it would be very funny for them. Okay, it will be very funny. It will be very funny for them to just shoot at civilians, at old people, at women and children. Okay, these are some of the stories that I know, and I know other stories. And as Kate, it's your name, correct? K8 Nimble City. As she was saying in the chat, which is very correct. I was also taught that way when I was in school. We always taught to check your sources. Discontinue at union. This is the main lesson of literacy and future critical thinking. Absolutely correct. I was taught the same thing. This is why when these girls told me this story, I checked it out, and it was true. At least from many sources. And these are the things that happen. These are the things that happen in war that I don't think people want to listen to in primetime news. But we have to understand that it's not just a question. This is not just a question of a war that is going on. This is a question of people that are dying, people that are losing their livelihoods, that are in constant fear, people that are being kidnapped, like those 20,000 children, Ukrainian children that have been kidnapped. Okay, only a couple of them were returned. I think 2,000 or something like that. These are the lives of these people. These are the lives of one of those little girls. Okay, that and this one I saw it in the news here, and she was very, very happy because she could go into the supermarket with her mother, a little girl around 4 or 5 years old, without the bad man shooting at them. And this goes back to that story that I was telling you that the girls told me, that they would sit in the crossroads where the people had to go into the supermarket or to the gas station and shoot at civilians for fun, the Russians. Okay? And I cannot tell you, as a man, the amount of disgust that I felt when I hear that I feel when I hear these stories. Still to this day, it affects me. Okay, because I am the type of person that keeps things inside very much. But this really affected me. Okay, because I talked with the victims personally. I talked with a couple of victims here. I talked with them online. I saw the stories of their lives here in my country in the news. So to me as an European, and this is something Americans have to understand, to me as a European, this is a conflict that is very much present in my life. And for different reasons that I won't go into in this video, I can honestly tell you I don't care about Russians. Okay? They want to make their lives better, get rid of Putin and get rid of all of those. In 1917, sorry, you rose up. Then rise up now. But understand that this will hover over you for many generations to come. It won't go away. Now, long rant. Let's continue to watch these videos. Again, I will provide links for the videos that we are watching today. I would ask you to please subscribe to Euronews if you are not subscribed already, or at least check out their videos. Sometimes their videos are a bit synthetic for someone that is used to a type of news that is a bit more flashy, but I happen to like it, okay? And they are 99.9% reliable. That little 1%, I would say, fact check. Just like Kate was saying here. Very important. Fact check everything. Now, let's continue to listen.
An armed man stormed the lobby of a hotel where the annual Correspondents' Dinner was being held, which was attended by US President Donald Trump. The President, First Lady Melania Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance were all rushed off stage after gunshots were heard. In videos circulating online, dinner attendees can be seen ducking under tables. Speaking at a press conference after the incident, Trump compared himself to Abraham Lincoln when he was asked by a journalist why he's frequently the target of assassination attempts.
The people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people.
Trump released video footage from the hotel's security cameras on his Truth Social account. In the images, a perpetrator can be seen running past security. The footage raised questions about security precautions and how the man was able to come so close to the ballroom. Trump also released an image of the suspect, who was identified as Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old man from California. He reportedly had been a guest at the hotel where the dinner was held.
Stay down.
Police believe he acted alone but did not elaborate on his intended target or motive.
All right. Now, I'm going to be very cynical, perhaps, but I really don't believe in whatever. Just like person impersonator is saying here in the chat, he's absolutely correct. I don't believe anything that comes out of the United States these days. I don't believe in whatever their government says. I don't believe in what the FBI says. I don't believe in what their cops say. I don't believe in absolutely anything. And I am forced to take this position because they are constantly lying. There is a saying that an British but English friend of mine, she would always say is that fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Meaning, how can you expect me to trust in a liar? I have spoken about this in my videos, and I have told you how important the truth is for me. I prefer a hard truth. I prefer that you tell me in the eye something that might hurt me or that I might not like. I prefer that you do that instead of trying to lie to me, even with good intentions. I cannot trust a liar. Just like that entire ketchup on his ear murderous attempt was bullshit, to me this was bullshit too. I'm not saying it might not happen, okay? I'm not saying that this might be some kind of deranged and sick sick people or sick persons, sorry, that actually tried to kill him. But in fact, he did nothing. He was completely stopped by the security. He was unable to do anything. And honestly, he would not be able to do anything except if he was able to enter in the venue and actually be close enough to Trump to kill him. But this is my opinion. I hope no one is offended by it, but I don't trust in them. You guys in the chat, if you want to, please give me your opinion as we progress into the rest of this stream. Okay, we are nearly finished. I'm not going to be going live much longer, but for a while still. Give me your honest opinion. Okay, to me, this has absolutely no grounds. Okay, to me, this is more American bullshit, just like the the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and now the nuclear weapons in Iraq, and all of this shit. Okay, that Benjamin Netanyahu has been repeating for years, because he wanted to do what he is doing to Lebanon and what he is going to continue to do. Okay, but please give me your opinion. Now, let's continue to the video, because there is still something.
A drone crashed into a populated area in Romania near its border with Ukraine early on Saturday. The incident occurred during a large-scale aerial attack by Russian drones and missiles on Ukraine. The drone landed on the southern eastern city of Galati and resulted in 200 people being evacuated as two British fighter jets stationed in a nearby military base immediately scrambled. It is not the first time that the EU and NATO member state has seen its airspace violated and drone fragments fall on its territory since Russia's 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Romanian President Nicolae Dan said that this was the first time that Romanian property has been damaged, though no casualties were reported. The country's foreign minister has summoned the Russian ambassador over the incident.
Chernobyl remains too dangerous for humans, but the wildlife has moved.
Okay, let's just stop here. Then we are going to watch this news about Chernobyl, which is very important. First of all, folks, this is not any reason. Okay, this is no reason to believe that a war is going to start or whatever, just because a piece of a drone is some kind of an evil plot by Russia to do whatever. Okay, this is a normal consequence of war and and I will say this also because it's important, and of the lack of means of the Russians. Okay, they are getting more and more sloppy. They are doing what they did last year, and they are barraging Ukraine with drones, trying to make as much havoc as they want. Okay, as person impersonator said here in the chat, and this is important also, there are also connections with the Transnistria situation. Okay, and I tell you this, I think until the end of the war, of this war, whatever happens with it, I think Transnistria is going to cease to exist. This is my opinion. Okay, because if you don't know about their history, please go and watch right here on YouTube some interesting videos you will find about it, and you see the Russians are saying, again, like person impersonator said here in chat, they are trying to hold Transnistria, and they are not going to be able to hold it for long. Okay, it's going to become so isolated that it will inevitably fall into negotiations with Moldova, and even Moldova itself might fall into negotiations with Romania itself. I don't see a union or reunion, if we want to call it, in the near future, but I do see it happening somewhere down the line. Because you see, Romania also cannot take the economic pressure right now of having a Moldova that is a part of their state. You also have to understand this. But what we do have to understand also is that all of these people are Romanians. Okay? And if you don't know the history, just briefly, basically Transnistria was a way the Soviets found to break the power, so to speak, break the cohesion of the Romanian space, of Romania and Moldova. Okay? It was another, it's a state that has been Russified, so to speak, pardon the incorrect term, in order to serve as a spearhead for the Russians before them, for the Soviets in this area of the world to be able to intervene. It's just like those republics in the Caucasus. It's all of that bullshit. It's uh, it's just another way for Russia to have some power in the region. So I would say to everyone, please calm down, okay? This is not the breach of any article to invoke NATO or whatever. The fighter jets of NATO, in this case, 2 British fighter jets. This is very important. We should say this if you are British, to show the people the importance of NATO. You are not just defending the UK. You are defending. You are not just defending Romania. You are also defending the UK. And we all should understand this. They quickly scrambled to deal with whatever threat there was, so we have to calm down and not make a big deal out of this. But however, I would say that the Romania has more than reasons to claim claim payments from the Russians because of the damage that they did in their town. And again, if this was a Russian drone, which I am assuming it was. Now, let's watch this piece about Chernobyl, because I think it's very important, and it shows us that if tomorrow we all grow extinct, the world will continue just like if we were not even here. Okay, let's watch this one. I like this piece.
Chernobyl remains too dangerous for humans, but the wildlife has moved back in. On the 26th of April 1986, an explosion at the nuclear power plant in Ukraine has sent radiation across Europe and forced the evacuation of entire towns. 4 decades on, wolves and brown bears have returned to the vast no man's land.
Фактично для фахівця там в сфері охорони природи, екології, це таке маленьке чудо, тому що
Several dozen of Przewalski's horses, native to Mongolia and once on the brink of extinction, were introduced here in 1998 as an experiment. Around 130 of them now roam free.
Кінь Бжевальського – це класно, тому що це останній дикий кінь на нашій планеті. Коли його тут бачиш, тварина, яка колись була володарем степів Євразії, це дійсно цікаво. Як фахівцю, так і естетично.
Despite persistent radiation, scientists have not recorded widespread die-offs. But some frogs have developed darker skin, and birds in higher radiation areas are more likely to develop cataracts.
Right. First of all, I was already old enough to remember what happened during the Chernobyl explosion, I fully remember being locked in my house with my brothers and all the kids in the town for around 2 weeks, and this is in the far corner of Europe. So you can see that this radiation fallout, it affected all of Europe, and due to the winds or whatever, there was a concentration of fallout, let's call it like this, in the area where I was living in South Portugal. Okay, the town, I won't say the name of the town. Sorry, for privacy, for privacy's concerns. Okay, but the town where I was born is a farmer's town. This means the main productions of the town where I was born, it's milk, it's dairy products, it's vegetables, it's cereal. It's a very rich land, and it has always been used for farming for going back to the Neolithic times. Okay, so you can see how old it can be. And I remember people from the state coming over. All the milk was destroyed. The cattle was checked and removed temporarily to another area. All the crops, they could not use any of the crops of, and I'm talking about vegetables, I'm talking about fruits. Some fruit trees died. All of the fruits, corn, which is a big product in the area, rice, wheat, all of that had to be destroyed. Okay, and I remember people talking. I remember people talking about that in town with my dad and all of that, and explaining that the subsidies that the government have given them were not enough, and complaining and this and that and whatever. And I also remember staying cooped up in the inside of my house for 2 weeks. And I remember, and this is one of the memories I will always have in my life, I remember seeing raining green, which is the most odd thing that you can ever see. The rain was, I looked out of the window and the rain was hard. And then in the road, there was this greenish powder, similar to when the pine trees, with the pollens, when they mix with rainwater, and then you have this greenish saying all over the street, similar to that, but very different. This was fixed sludge, and I remember the people from the city hall passing by in trucks and with water pressure, and with hoses and all of that, with water, and cleaning up the entire streets, the rooftops. I remember my dad having to hose down the rooftop of our house and all of that. And to tell you the truth, it was scary, because you see, I was born. No, I was born in 1975. Okay, so during my childhood and my early teens, we always lived with the spectrum of nuclear war, and we even have drills in our house. The place where I'm living now, which is in a strategic point in Portugal, is one of the only places in Portugal that, in case of a nuclear war, would be strategically important to be bombed. When I was in my hometown, we would have time to see the flash and try to hide before the shock wave would hit us and kill us all and level the town. Okay? Now, I think I I moved even closer. The guy likes to live dangerously, and I would only have time to perhaps say shit before I get vaporized. But you have to understand this was the fear that we were living in. And then after that, Catholic associations in my region and in the place where I used to go to summers, during the summer, go to the beach and all of that, fairly close to my hometown. Right now, I'm absolutely near the coast. I can walk or bike to the coast around 15, quarter of an hour, 15 minutes, or if I go by car, it's 5 minutes. And those Catholic associations here in Portugal, they used to create summer camps for Ukrainian children. And they used to come here. Some were older than me, others were younger than me, and we used to talk with them. And you will be surprised to know that a lot of those children also spoke broken English at that time. Soviet education. It was good. And we used to share our lives and whatever. And it was absolutely... Look, I'm a pale guy, okay? I'm very white. I get red in the sunshine, okay? And like Billy Connolly said, I'm the type of person that gets red on the sun and gets purple on cold water, okay? I'm that type of guy. And those children, they looked like ghosts compared to us. And a lot of them were sick. And they were so happy, okay? Because they had this opportunity to be in the sun, to play in the water, to eat good food. And they would tell me about their lives, and it was as bleak as you can imagine, okay? Number one, they were constantly at the hospital getting treated. I think about how many of them are dead by now or didn't even make it out of their teens. Yes, I think about that. And one girl, she used to tell me that her grandmother lived in the area and that she refused to leave. There are a lot of people like this that refuse to leave the area, and that she could not visit her grandmother anymore and go to the farm and play with the animals. I remember that. And that her life was, she was either closed, either inside of the school, either inside of the house. And these children, they didn't even play it outside. Granted, over the years, things improved, of course. But you know, I hear about these stories, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like nuclear energy. Now, I understand that we need it, but every time I think about voting or giving my opinion about it, I remember those children. And I remember that I don't want that to the children of my country. But this is my opinion. If you want, please give me your opinion in the chat. Chat is open, you can speak. But at least this is my position about this. As for this, you know, it's a unique opportunity, because by studying these animals and how they are tolerating radiation, we might find a way on developing, at least, I don't know, medicine or treatments, whatever, to treat people that might be subjected to any kind of radiation, okay, like in a nuclear attack or whatever. But honestly, I don't think they will get much out of it. But this is my opinion, okay? Again, give me your opinion in the chat. Now, we are almost over, but let's end this video. Okay, I just wanted to show you this last news. Let me just make a little thing here. Okay, now, folks, uh, this will be very interesting. No, I'm seeing a lot of developments in this area. I'm seeing solar powered cars. I'm seeing a lot of new technologies. And I think this is the inevitable outcome of realizing that we are not immune to whatever happens to the Middle East. And the realization that the Americans are also having at the pump, that if when something happens to the sources of our fossil fuels, even if you are at 70% green energy like my country, okay, if something happens to those fossil fuels, those areas, we are all fucked, and we need to get rid of it. Okay, I have already decided myself that when I next change my car, it's getting old, I should change it, but the next time I change my car, I will change it to either a hybrid or an electric car, an EV, because no, I don't want to be dependent on this shit. It's absolutely gross, and even with all the government control here, but we have been feeling this at the pump. Last week was worse. This week it improved. And also at the prices of things like meat, for example, due to this entire shit with Mr. Trump and his crap. And yes, impersonated. I heard about those new nuclear reactors, and I agree with you. No, I think we should. I really think we should invest in greener energies. Now, folks, before I sign off, do you have any questions? Think not. Okay, let me just do my quick fingers here. Right, folks, as I said in my previous video, I'm going to try to make a stream every weekend. I'm going to try to make it, start to make it in Sunday, in the Sundays, which is when I have about a more free time. We'll try to do it at midday here in Portugal. It's the same time as the Greenish time, same time as the UK. Okay. so that I don't collide with other people streaming. Okay. Also, I'm going to try to drop a couple of more videos. This weekend I was a bit busy. I had a lot of things to do, but as I promised that I would make a stream, and now I have a couple of things here figured out. I still have a couple of problems here with the delay, but either from that I have an excellent connection, and it's all good. Okay, folks, I would like to thank you all for coming, and I see you all in the next one. Have a great Sunday, okay? Go out and enjoy the sunshine. If you have sunshine, okay? It's glorious out here. It's not very hot, not cold at all. Excellent weather for the beach, for walking about, and this is exactly what I did this morning, and I should do in the afternoon, because I had some lasagna at lunch, and my God, it was so good. Now, folks, thank you all for coming. Honestly, from my heart, I hope you liked the stream, and I hope to catch you all in the next one, okay?